So my name is Hugo Sanchez, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of an app called Moti, and I am from Williamsburg, Brooklyn. So I grew up in two places. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, left there around 15, 16, and then came to Brooklyn, never left Brooklyn. So I've lived all areas in Brooklyn, between Flatbush, East New York, and landed in Williamsburg for the last 20 years. Dry cleaning / laundromat, so you run two businesses at the same time, right? So if you sell water, you sell soda. You can't sell one without the other. So if you have dry cleaning, you also want to own a piece of a laundromat. And because if you take laundromats, which get most of people, everyday people, you could do pop-ups inside laundromats. They have the space for it. So they look like dry cleaners, but they're not. They're just drop-off locations. So that's how you get your business really up and running, because people that go to laundromats, they're like, hey, let me drop a couple of pieces to the cleaners. You have no overhead, and you just split the ticket with them. I think what makes me interesting is that I see more than people see in their own business. Like, people be like, oh, I just do this. And I'm like, man, I'm really interested. And I think one of my mentors told me one time, be more interested than interesting. And that's what it is. I'm always more interested in what people do. And I always get blown away because they seem to have something really great and it's insignificant to them. They don't see the potential in it, right? I bought one cleaners. I bought the factory and people just seen it as one cleaners. I didn't see it as one cleaners. It was called satellite cleaners for a reason. What do satellites do? They communicate with other satellites. So I already knew the name was picked out for a reason, that I was going to connect with other businesses and say, can I put my cleaners inside your business? You have a laundromat. Can I put my cleaners in your doorman building? See, I already had a plan. Why people thought I had a location. No, I had an expansion plan. And that what makes me interesting, I see a lot more than people see in their own business. I know how to grow it, but I also know that it takes a lot of work and people don't have that energy. I actually do have that energy. That's what makes me interesting, that I'm willing to put the work in. I think one of the things that had the biggest shift in my life is when I was incarcerated. I was sentenced to a life sentence, and I wound up doing over 10 to life. And at first, that didn't seem like the change, but then something happened. The world keeps going, and you keep thinking you're in there, you're so secluded to the world that you think it's pretty much the same. It is not. And you start realizing when people start dying around you. First you hear about a friend dying and you're like, oh wow, that's crazy. But then my mother passed away to cancer. And then my father passed away to cancer. And things start, when you think you have all these plans, when I get out, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna have it all together. You lose total footing once you lose the people you love the most. And you're in total confusion. And then the plan you think you had was never actually a plan, because you were relying on other people being alive, and the world just kept going, and people die and things happen and people change the way they feel, and friends you thought you had, you don't have, and you even forget their names. It's so crazy. If you were to ask me who my friends were 30 years ago, I could not remember their names. That's how the world changes, in a point that people just disappear in your life and they're not coming back, and then you have to decide, what the fuck do I do? And I think for me, once I lost my mother, that was like, what the fuck do I do now? I thought I was coming home to my mom and things would be great, you know, and there'd be this big party. No party. I had to go to a Phoenix house, you know, had to go to a place and try to starve like everybody else. And then it's really weird, because you start to wonder, like, When you're outside in the world and you see people homeless or you see people in front of drug programs and you can't understand why they're there, maybe because they lost what they thought they had when they came out and they just gave up. I didn't give up. That's where the difference is. I chose not to give up. I chose to fight for every inch. And so when people say, man, you're so phenomenal, you've done so many great things, it's because I fight for every round. I'm not losing unless the ref picks up those scorecards and says that I lost that fight. And if I did, I'm going back to training to come back. And the idea is, if you lose, and you lose, because I'm not the greatest businessman, I've made very bad decisions, I was able to get back to training and fight back. Some people can't recover from a fight, and that's where the challenge is at. That's not difficult. I was selling drugs. I mean, Hispanic in a Hispanic neighborhood, what you do? You're either using or selling. I chose to sell, not use. And if you say, you know, which one when I was better off, well, I don't know. I never got to use. So I know that I learned how to manage money and make money. And maybe that's a business model, you know, if you learn how to make money. I mean, a lot of people don't know that the American dollar weighs 1 gram. I know that. Why? No idea, but I know that, you know. So those are weird things in life. There really is, and a lot of people won't see it, but you're constantly making deals. What are you doing in business? You're constantly making deals. There's price points you're willing to flex because the margins are there. And like a regular business, if you buy a t-shirt, right, and you're going to print on it, you need the t-shirt to be somewhere around $4 to $5 if you want to be around $9. So you have a price point. And when you're doing, you know, dealing drugs, there's a price point. You know what your margins are. So somehow you learn to do business with the wrong product, but had I spent that much energy on the right stuff, I still would have got there. Maybe different margins, maybe longer, whether it's sneakers, clothing, or food, or whatever that is. But everything has a margin. And you learn that. In that particular business, you learn that. But in every business, when you go to sea, there's margins. In dry cleaning, there's margins. Wash and fold, there's margins. And you have to see where the margins are for you that you're like, I can survive in those margins or make a profit. So yeah, you can learn from that, which is really interesting. So that statistic works on time, right? They say most guys that do over 10 years don't come back. It may be the length of time that a man loses that creates that change. If you do a 1 to 3, you do like 8 months, and maybe it doesn't have a profound effect. You don't lose anything in the 8 months. If you do the 2 to 4 and you wind up doing 16 months, maybe you don't lose nothing in 16 months, but in a decade, shit gets lost. And you have to imagine that if your child was 10 years old, now he's 20. If your child's 20, now he's 30. And that's a big gap. Those gaps are huge. And if your mother's in her 60s, now she's 70. So there's a lot, you know. So big numbers create big changes. So yeah, there's a lot to be lost. So a guy that does a big number, anything after 10, he realizes that he can't afford it. He's no longer 20, he's 30. He's no longer 40, he's 50. He's no longer 50, he's 60. And it's just not there no more. The mindset has, I don't know if the mindset, and look, that's not to say that's a formula, right? I don't think anybody should lose 10, 20 years of their life unless you kill somebody, because that other person's not coming back. And same goes to say if you're dealing drugs, if somebody gets addicted, there's nothing to say that the actual buyer, even if he was of age, he'll come back or recover. He may be a junkie forever. So that damage is just as great as somebody dying, because somebody in their family lost somebody to drugs. But the idea is that if you do wind up getting out, how do you change that? You know, It's hard to get a job. It's just, there is challenges that are unbelievable after 10 years.
What do you think would have happened to you if you didn't make it?
I don't know, because that was never going to happen. To be honest with you, I'm not a quitter. You know, it's funny, right? The first job I got was I was a plumber's helper. And there was this Dominican gentleman, we're still best friends. His name is Cello. And I remember I probably owned like 3 pairs of pants, 3 shirts. I really didn't have a lot. I was only making like $6 an hour. And I was pretty much the go-get guy. Go get the coffee, go get the shit off the truck or whatever. But I remember him coming back. It was getting cold. It was December. I still didn't have a coat. You know, the money, the budget was not there yet. But I remember him coming like on a Friday. He brought me like 2 coats, 6, 7 pairs of jeans, some hoodies and stuff. He goes, oh, this stuff doesn't fit me anymore. And it was all new. So I know he went and bought it. And sometimes the new friendships you make, people that actually work a blue collar job, those become your best friends, because you start to wonder, man, how does he stretch the check? I know he only makes $600 a week, and I'm in a shelter and I still can't make it with $300 a week, you know? And you have a level of respect. You have this pivot, right, where you see people that actually work and stretching out that check. You start to admire that. You're like, damn, I didn't know it was really this hard for people that work. And somehow they keep a smile every week. That to me was the big pivot, to see people that I know that even though they made 3 times more than me, I knew it wasn't enough, but somehow they were happy. I was like, what the fuck am I doing that I don't understand it? But they had their freedom, they had their health, they had a family. And then I realized that those were the key things. It wasn't so much the paycheck. They worked to keep those small things together, a roof over their head, a meal, and the simple things made them happy. And I was like, maybe I was shooting too high when I was younger. And maybe that was my mistake. I didn't realize that it was really about having somebody that loves you, having a roof over your head, and having just a regular plate of food on the table was not that bad when you're around people you love. And I feel that that's what I missed. I thought that I had to be somewhere so high that I really got caught up in the wrong thing, thinking that was life. When in fact, some of the best times I had was sitting with a bunch of Mexican co-workers. They all brung he brung condiments, and he brung tortillas, and he brung salsa, and we all ate together. And I was like, this is pretty fucking great. It was the funniest thing how cool that shit was. And the shit we talked that had no value, but it was good. It was really fucking cool. So that was an interesting thing, right? I had an idea, and I was in the dry cleaning business, which night and day, you can't put dry cleaning and an app together all at once. But I think because a company reached out to me and paid me a huge amount of money, they had an app for dry cleaning. I think when I saw that, maybe that stood in the back of my mind. And I was like, oh, this is going to be the death of me. An app for dry cleaning. It had tailoring, pickup schedules, everything, instructions how to clean people's clothes. I was like, this is interesting. And they needed my help, because even though they had an app, they didn't have an expert. And I was actually an expert in that industry. And I looked at this app and I was like, wow, this is going to be a problem even for me. But one day I had an idea about an app, and I was like, why doesn't video and payment work together? It's a simple process. We do FaceTime. People pay for time. And they were not, somehow then, even to this day, they're not meshed correctly. So I spoke to 2 of my friends. One of them I helped renovate his apartment because I was a developer now. And I said, look, I'll sell the cleaners, put the money, and we'll become equal partners. Somehow I want to get video and payment. And Jeff, which is our CTO, he's just a monster. He says, well, if you're gonna fund it, yeah, let's take a shot at this. He put Moti together, and this is the thing about development. A lot of people don't. You put all the sauces and spices that you think it needs, but the actual user, is the one that helps you guide the app to its future development. It needs this, it needs that. So you start somewhere, but the actual user is the one that helps you build the product out. And I was able to reach out to people that I admire on Instagram and DM them and say, hey, I have an app. I would love you to look at it. Give me your opinion. And they were like, yeah, sure. You'd be surprised. A lot of people say, oh, people don't answer DMs. That's not true. You have to be genuine and say, hey, I'm nobody, I'm not no celebrity or anything, but I do have an app, and I think you will be a good fit for it. And believe it or not, I've got thousands of good responses. And it wasn't that hard. I think it's harder for me to raise money than it is to get people on the app, because your dream is not everybody's dream, and what you see as a vision is not everybody's vision. But I have raised $1.2 million, and which tells you that somebody believes in it, because I raised, we've invested $1 million of our own, and we raised 1.2. Now we're on a $2 million raise. And I believe that anybody that has a dream, it's not the reason it won't be successful is because you quit on it, or because you listen to people that tell you they don't see it. Understand there's billions of people on technologies, thousands of apps, thousands. And just like when you go to the supermarket and you go to the soda section, I only drink Coca-Cola. There's thousands of different flavors out there, and somehow they all sell. There is a preference for everybody, and we believe there's a user that needs Moti, and we don't need 100 million people to use it. Even with 10,000 people, we make $30 million a year. We don't need ads. So for us, it's not how much we need, it's just what we need, which is different. And that's what makes Moti powerful. So for personal goals, as me being Latino, right? I look at the space of technology. There's not a lot of us. I'm not talking about my partners. Their goal is to have a successful company, right? I'm talking about myself as being Hispanic, right? And why Moti is more important to me, not just as a technology person, but as an Hispanic, right? We're not in the space. We're not in Wall Street. We're not doing IPOs. And when I look at this space and I say to myself, how important it is for my community, Latino community, being Puerto Rican, it's a big deal to me. It's a huge big deal to me. And my goal is to show Latinos that even if you think you have an accent, even if you feel uncomfortable, or do you think that people won't invest with you, you're Latino, that's not true. And they have to understand that this is not about an angel investor or a VC. They're not the bar today to raise money. There's safes, there's crowdfunding, there's community, there's social media. They don't have to worry if they have to go into the room and one person's gonna make that decision for them anymore. There is different ways to raise money, and they shouldn't have to feel this shame of being Latino. Say, hey, well, I got an accent and I'm not gonna get funded because of that, or because I'm Hispanic. That's not true. Don't let them sell you the wolf. It's not true. I've gotten in rooms I don't belong in, and people's like, how did you get in here? I threw the door like everybody else. That's not, I'm not afraid to take a no. I'll tell you another thing my mentor told me, and I say this for everybody because you have to grow a certain type of skin in this game. If you are 1,000 no's from the one yes you needed, how quick would you get them? I figure I'm like 300 or 400 no's down. I'm okay. I still got 600 more to go. I'm okay with a no. But just give it to me fast so I could go to the next person. I don't need a week. If you're unsure, then you're not. If you need a week, you're not the right fit. trust me, you're not the right fit. Moti's so simple to understand that if you can't make a decision like a VC does in 15 minutes, you're not the right fit. It's not for you, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But don't have me waiting. I don't need to wait. I'm okay with a no. You're not hurting my feelings. I'm a big boy. You know, so for me as a Latino, my goal is to represent us. First, represent my company, Moti, because Moti's still a company. It's not designed around a Latino, right? But to be a Latino and be a co-founder and the CEO, it is also important for me to let my community know, Latinos, that there's a space for us here. And we're going to have to fight for every inch, but it exists. So yes, it's important for me as a Latino to represent that, not just my company, but also for Latinos to understand that there's a space for us in this community. The first thing they need to understand that they have to change the environment. And I'm not, look, you can't change if you live in a bad neighborhood, because if you live with your mom, it's not gonna happen, right? So your change first has to be mentally, right? What do I need to do to change this, right? I think social media provides a world that we never would have seen before. You have to tap into social media. There are good people out there. I'm not saying that they're all good, but there are some good people on social media that can get you in rooms or get you in events. And it's time for you to say, the only thing that's stopping me is me not asking somebody for help. I think that's another thing that I learned from my mentor is you got to ask somebody. You have to get in the business of saying, hey, can you help me, or do you know somebody that could help me? I don't have the right resources. I think the resources that the youth have today, I'm 57, didn't exist. Today, the resources are different. You can reach out to somebody on social media and influence somebody. You know, you have to be the first one to say, okay, I have a plan. And also set your mind up that this may take 5 years. It may take 10 years. It's up to you how good your idea is. Are you willing to spend 5 years on yourself, invest it on yourself, and say, hey, this is not going to happen overnight. I live in a shitty situation. I sleep on a sofa. It's not really my house. I'm on public assistance, you know. I'm not in the right school. I get that. Those are things that happen right now in real time. But that does not stop you. This thing right here is the most powerful tool you have in your hand. This social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, there's just resources today on a single phone that didn't exist for me in the 90s and 80s. It just wasn't there, information. Don't use this just to make a phone call. There's so much power in this phone that used correctly, you can get out of any shitty situation. You just can. But you have to be the willing to accept that I'm in a bad situation. I'm not educated enough, and that's okay. All that is okay. But it should not stop you. Your education is not the reason you fail. If that's the case, I should have failed a long time ago. I don't even have a GED. So if your education is the reason you think you can't make it, you're wrong. You can ask any millionaire today, any kid that got rich on crypto, ask him if he went to school. He'll tell you nope. He'll tell you that's the worst spent money is school. And not to say no, you need school. Because if you're there are tools that you could get out of there and resources that are incredible. But don't use where you live at, who you're around. Who you're around, you can stop. Where you live now can change. So all those things is up to you. Do they take time? Yeah, they fucking take time. So yeah, you have to invest the time to change those situations. Nobody's coming to save you. So forget about somebody coming to save you. There are certain steps. If you're around the wrong person, please just stop. Just fucking stop. Get around the right people. There are a million events that happen around New York City or wherever you at that are free. Go. Don't worry if you're not the best dressed. You don't have to be. You just have to show up. That's really it. Show up.